So the Community's Mental Health and Wellbeing Fund 2022. So the background to the fund, we have got a further 15 million for year 2. This was announced on the 7th of May. The funding reflects the importance we place on community support as part of the overall mental health and infrastructure, and the commitments given by Scottish ministers to increase direct mental health investment in both the NHS Recovery Plan and this year's programme for government. So same as last year, the fund has to be administered across Scotland using a collaborative approach between the 32 TSIs, third sector interfaces, the integrated joint boards and other key representatives from respective councils and community. The fund priorities have remained unchanged this year. The overarching aim of the fund is to support community-based initiatives that promote and develop good mental health and well-being, and or mitigate and protect against the impact of distress and mental ill health within the adult population, with a particular focus on projects which tackle suicide prevention, social isolation and loneliness, prevention and early intervention, addressing the mental health inequalities exacerbated by the pandemic and the needs of a range of at-risk groups locally, which we'll go on to later, supporting small grassroots community groups and organisations to deliver such activities, providing opportunities for people to connect with each other, build trusted relationships and revitalise communities. And lastly, supporting recovery and creativity locally by building on what's already there, what was achieved through the pandemic, and by investing in creative solutions. While the effects of the pandemic on mental health are long lasting, it's still emerging. It's important to recognise that there's other societal changes affecting communities and their mental health, such as the cost of living crisis. So within our guidance notes, there is a list of what the Scottish Government classes at-risk groups. And within that, we've got social economic disadvantage. So this year we would like to focus on the importance of initiatives that support those facing socio-economic disadvantage. Within the list of at-risk groups, and bearing in mind this was created by the Scottish Government, is women, particularly young women and young women affected by gender-based violence, people with long-term health conditions or disabilities, people at higher risk of COVID, people from a minority ethnic backgrounds, refugees and those with no recourse to public funds, people facing socio-economic disadvantage, people experiencing severe and multiple disadvantage, people with diagnosed mental illness, people affected by psychological trauma, people who have experienced bereavement or loss, people disadvantaged by geographical location, particularly remote and rural areas, older people aged 50 and above, and the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender and intersex communities. So this is a list of at-risk groups. That is clearly defined in the guidance, which will be available on the VASLan website, hopefully in the next week or so. So what do we have available? This year, VASLan have £888,000 to distribute. We're doing this between October to February. And what's changed slightly is we're now going to do micro grants of under 2,000 for unconstituted groups. Now, this is if your organisation doesn't have a formal constituted document. You can apply for a maximum grant of up to 2,000. However, the money has to be held in a partnership organisation's bank account, and there has to be a written agreement in place. We would be unable to process your application without that documentation. So it's a written agreement to say that they're holding the funds for you. They know what project it is you're doing, and they're happy to keep an eye on that as it goes. We will also offer support from our capacity officers to help unconstituted groups become constituted. Then we've got our small grants of 7,500. Our main grants are now 7,500 to 20,000, and our partnership applications just over 20,000 to 50,000. Now, the aim of this fund is to really target small grassroots organisations. So we are hopeful that the majority of funding that goes out is for grants under 10,000. And I think looking at the cost of living this year, we took the decision to increase the small grant from 5,000 to 7,500. Okay, so who can apply? The fund is only open to VASLan members. Now, there are a couple of people here today that we don't have on our system, and an email has been sent to you all this afternoon asking what organisations you're from. And if you can let us know, because if it's not an organisation we have, then you're not a member. So you'd have to become a member to apply. The ambition of the fund is to support initiatives which promote mental health and wellbeing at small scale grassroots community level. So clinical interventions will not be funded. It should be accessible to all groups, no matter how small or inexperienced they are. So hence why we've opened it up to unconstituted groups this year. It can support both new and existing groups. However, all projects must solely be for adults over the age of 16. Groups do not have to have mental health and wellbeing as their sole focus, but their application has to clearly benefit mental wellbeing, the mental wellbeing to the community. And it will look at benefits from a community holistic level rather than a clinical approach. An extension of funding from round one. So if you received funding in round one and you have a new project, you can apply. That's not a problem for a brand new project. We will ask you to feedback on how you're doing with the original project, the project that you got for round one. And if Peter's been in touch with you for your reporting on that, we would ask that you complete that and get it back to us. If you're looking for funding for the same project, VASLan cannot double up on funding. So if it's an extension of a project funded by the Community Mental Health and Wellbeing Grant from 21-22, you'll need to give a detailed explanation why the extra funds are needed and what's changed. So has the need changed? Has the target group changed? Has the at-risk group changed? Has your service altered in direction? There needs to be as much detail as possible, and I need to make it clear that if the panel feel that not enough has changed, then your application would be rejected. If you apply for funding this year for a same project that you were funded for in round one, there will be more information required. So myself, Peter, or one of our other colleagues would be in touch with you to gather some more information before sending your application to panel. Applications are open to the following organisations. Now, most of these are the same as last year. You've got your SCIOs, Scottish Charitable Incorporated Organisations, your unincorporated associations. This year, the unconstituted groups can apply. However, there are the rules in place that you have to have a partnership organisation to hold the funds. Companies limited by guarantee, trusts, non-for-profit companies, asset lock companies, or community interest companies, your cooperatives and community benefit societies, your community councils, your voluntary sector lead partnerships. And this year they've added in parent councils. Now, again, for parent councils to apply, they have to either be constituted with a bank account or have a constituted organisation to hold money for them. And any project they're doing has to be for over 16-year-olds. So it's one of the ones we're not 100% sure what the need is, what the Scottish Government have found, but there's obviously been something went back to them that said they're going to open it up to parent councils this year. So if I'm correct, that would be for fourth year students or over. Yeah, it's got to be for anyone over the age of 16. What we will fund and what we won't fund. So again, this hasn't really changed much from last year. So we will fund equipment, one-off events. However, the one-off events have to be able to prove that there's some sort of sustainable or ongoing wellbeing or mental health benefit. Small capital project, hall hire for community spaces. Small capital spend for up to 10,000. Staff costs. Now, noting that this year it's an 18-month fund. It's not a 2-year fund. So it's just noting that down when you're doing your staff costs. And also in our guidance, we're asking that staff costs meet the national living wage where possible. So you can apply for that little bit more if it means that you're going to be meeting the national living wage. Training costs, transport, utilities and running costs, volunteer expenses, and helping people stay safe. So for example, your PPE for gatherings. What we can't fund: contingency costs, loans, endowments or interest, electricity generation and feed-in tariff payments, political or religious campaigning, profit making or fundraising activities, VAT that you can reclaim, statutory activities, overseas travel or alcohol. Now, sorry, I'm just going to make sure there's nothing below that, which I don't think there is. No. When it comes to political or religious campaigning, church groups can apply for funding. So if you're from a church group and you run say a dementia friendly organisation or addiction recovery service, you can apply for funding based on the services, as long as they're non-belief, non-religious, then that's absolutely fine. And how to apply. So the fund opens on the 10th of October, hopefully. We've got until the 17th to open the fund, but we're aiming to have it open for the 10th of October. And at present, we're on track for that. That's absolutely fine. Applications are going to be made through the VASLan website this year. So we're using an application called Form Assembly. and the application form will be on our website and you'll be able to fill it in there. We're going to go through the application in a moment. If anyone has a problem with it, if he is a barriers to internet or barriers to filling out the form, let us know and we'll get a paper copy out to you where possible. Projects can last for 18 months from the date of the funding agreement, and the fund will close on the 1st of February. Now, the fund will close if we run out of money before then. So what I will say is don't leave it until midnight before the 1st of February. Don't leave it until the last week in January to apply. If you have a project in mind, if you've already started planning it, get your application in as soon as possible. We're not guaranteed to have an extension of funding this year. There was a small amount extended funding last year. However, we've not been told we're getting that this year and there's no guarantee we will. So I would definitely recommend getting your application in as soon as possible. Now, this is the application form, or the first page of the application form. When it becomes live, you will be able to access it through the website, and this is the first page that you will see. Now, you can save the form and come back to it later. We can also see people that have done this. We can go in and run a report for people that are maybe struggling to fill it out, in which case one of our capacity officers would be in touch to see what support we can offer you. Now, on page 1, you will see there's wee red stars next to certain questions. These have to be filled out. You won't be able to go any further. And one of them is that you've read the guidance notes. One of the biggest pitfalls to accessing funding is not reading the guidance notes. So we're asking everyone to make sure they've read them this year once they become available, which we're hoping to do in the next week. And then on this page, it's all your contact information and your costings are at the bottom. So how much money you're asking for and what it's all broken down into fields as to what it's for. You'll be happy to know that the form is only 3 pages long. However, you only have to fill out 2. So this one, and then the next page is about your project. And the final page is just a declaration. So we've kept it as light touch as possible, but because of that, we possibly will come back and ask some questions. That's nothing regarding your project or a sign that you're not going to get funding. It's just because we've tried to keep the application form as simple as possible. What I will say before we move on to the membership is this year we're wanting to try out support for anyone applying for less than £2,000. If you're really struggling to fill out the form or you find that it's not an area of strength, let us know. And if we've got the capacity, one of our development officers will come out and help you with the form. We won't do it for you, but we will sit with you and talk you through it step by step so that we can give you as much support as possible, breaking down that barrier to funding. If we don't have the capacity at the time that you phone, we will get in touch either over the phone or through email and give you as much support as possible so that you're getting your application in. Now, all our managed funds are only open to VASLan members, and the benefits of VASLan membership is, apart from the fact it's completely free, there's an increased awareness of member services through the capture and promotion of services to partners and potential beneficiaries. We've got a fantastic comms and marketing team. I don't know if anyone's met them yet, Nick and Shiza, and they come out to your organisation. They're happy to do a promotional video for you, which you then get to keep and use for your own promotions. And we also spotlight it through our social media channels and on our website. And again, this is a free service. We have a members only area in our community shared space, providing access to data intelligence and third sector discussion space, access to all our VASLan managed funds. So I'm not sure if you are aware, but at the moment we've got another fund running called the BCC fund. It's Building and Celebrating Communities. It's a smaller fund, and I think you can apply up to 2,000, possibly 2,500 on that. So if you're not aware of that, have a wee look at our website and you'll be able to find out more. And towards the Christmas period, we're hoping to have more funds going live. You also get access to the Third Sector Chief Officers Group membership and ability to vote at VASLan member meetings. Now, membership is completely free, doesn't cost you a penny, and it never will. So if you're not a member, you can become a member by sending an email to membership@vaslan.org.uk. In that email, please include your full name, your organisation's name, your postal address, phone number and email. Now, once we receive that email, it comes through to myself and one of the capacity team will be in touch with you just to get some further information from you before we pass your application to the board for approval. If you are not sure if you're a member, you can just pop an email to that same email box and one of the admin staff will have a look and let you know if you're a member or not. Support available this year. We've created a document called How to Write a Strong Application. It will be available on the VASLan website from the 3rd of October. In this document, we've got your do's and don'ts, your hints and tips, your what's more common, why are applications most commonly rejected, and it's specific to this fund. So you're getting what the fund is, general advice, how to write a section on how to write the application, and then what additional support's available from VASLan. The fund guidance will also be made available on the website from the 3rd of October. This is about the fund, about the at-risk list, the priorities, what we're looking for out of applications. And alongside that, there will also be application guidance. The application guidance is every single question on the application form and a section next to it on how to answer that question. So there's going to be a lot of support available on the website for you to download and read through in your own time. On top of that, we've got the capacity support. So capacity officers here that will be able to help you over the phone, over email, or in person if we've got the capacity to do so. And on top of that, for applications that are rejected, we'll be in touch to offer support on why the application was rejected, what we can do going forward, and all applications that are rejected can apply again where appropriate. So if it's been that the application form's not had enough information in it or not really met the guidelines, and you think that you can tweak your project to meet the guidelines better, then you can reapply. There's nothing stopping you. Our contact information. So I'm Joanne McMahon. I am the engagement lead for the engagement team. Our phone number is 01698 300 390. Our funding email is funding@vaslan.org.uk. Our website is www.vaslan.org.uk, and for the Community Mental Health and Wellbeing Fund /CMHWF. And you can tweet us at VASLan or message us on Facebook. So that is me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to open up to questions. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you are happy to go ahead and ask questions, if you can put your hand, there's a wee button to put your hand up. Or if you can't find that wee button, just pop your hand up, and myself and Peter will keep an eye on that if we can, and start answering any questions that you've got. So has anyone got questions that they would like to ask?
Yeah, Katrina and then Michelle.
Okay.
Hi there, thanks for that. I was just wondering, if successful, what's the turnaround time for the funding?
Yeah, so 3 to 4 weeks. We're trying to do it as quick as possible. The panels meet every fortnight. We have a small panel for small, an internal panel for small funds and an external panel for larger funds. Once your panel is accepted, it then goes to our admin team. They will ask you for appropriate documentation. This will be a bank account statement and your accounts for the last year. And once we've got them, we pay the money out. So we aim 3 to 4 weeks. It's quite a quick turnaround period.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
And who was next? Sorry, Peter.
It was Michelle Campbell.
Hiya. Just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Can you apply for more than one of the grants at a time?
Yes, so if it's a different project, so you can't apply for 2 grants for the same project. But if your organisation has more than one project running, then yeah, you can apply for more than one grant.
I'm thinking more about an individual grant for an organisation and the partnership grant.
Right, okay.
Can you be involved in 2 like that?
Yeah. As long as, like I say, as long as they're for 2 completely different projects, then that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Fiona, I don't know if you were just clapping the turnaround time or whether it was you had a question.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find my hand up. So I was just doing a wee wave hand there. Thanks, Joanne. What about if we're quite a new organisation, we're a KIC that's set up in February this year, so obviously we won't have accounts for last year. Is that going to be a barrier?
No, it won't be a barrier. Peter, could you maybe come in there with regards to what happened last year if people didn't have accounts for the financial year?
Yeah, what we will look for is your latest bank statement, maybe even the last couple of bank statements, just to show that there is a bank account set up in the organisation's name that we can pay the money into.
Perfect, thank you.
Have we got any more questions?
Katrina, I don't know if that's a legacy hand or you have any more? No.
Does anyone else get any questions they would like to jump in with? No? Andy, you're on mute. Oh, wait a minute.
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Apologies about that. I think
That's all right.
Fiona, and they've asked the questions essentially that I was going to ask in relation to the proofs essentially for the bank accounts and the end of year sort of accounts for the organisation. So that sort of answered that question I had.
Okay. If we get any unconstituted groups within us at the moment, or anyone that's from an unconstituted organisation, Gillian, you are. So
Right, I'm not from an unconstituted group because this was something I'd messaged about earlier. I'm from Buckinghamshire Welfare Guild. That is a constituted group, and we do actually have bank accounts, and we did actually get funding from you last year.
Okay.
But this year we were going to look at funding for our one-stop shop that you were part of.
Okay.
As it now, because it's the one-stop shop run by Buckinghamshire Welfare Guild, if we put in an application for that, I was going to put it into the unconstituted, but could I put it up to the next one?
Is it a service that you run, or is it a separate organisation that you?
It's a service we run for the, you know, remember we had all the different groups there, and we had the school clothes and.
Yep. In my mind, I would say that because it's a service that you run, you could apply for the ones above the unconstituted. Peter, if you get any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if that's something you wanted to do through Buckinghamshire, then that's something that you could definitely apply for the small or the medium grant, or the larger grant sort of going forward. You might even want to look at it because of sort of the makeup of it. You might even want to look at the partnership, but that might be an ongoing thing.
So there is partnership working, Peter.
Yeah.
Because we were in a church that we're not normally in, and we got that for free, and we had invited VASLan and other partners to be part of it. So, you know, there was a lot of partners there because we had social security, we had money matters, we had all this sort of stuff there. But Buckinghamshire Welfare Guild was the lead on it.
Yeah, well, rather than sort of setting up a new organisation or having it, because it was sort of a service in Buckinghamshire was the lead, it would probably be best for an application to come in from Buckinghamshire for that particular project.
Right. Thank you. That's what I was trying to get over to you this morning when I messaged me. Sorry if I wasn't very clear. I apologise.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
That's fine. Will we go to James?
I was just wondering if you're successful with an application, is there a time limit on the spend?
18 months. So 18 months when you receive the money is your time limit on the spend. Fiona?
I think it was Fiona next.
Yeah, that's right. Just on if we're looking to partner with someone else, do they have to be within that category as well? Though we're a kick ourselves, but if we're looking to partner to bring in somebody to help with mental health and well-being, but that actual organisation aren't a charity or fall under that, is that an issue?
If they're a third sector organisation, I don't see it being an issue. No, as long as they are, I would say, a third sector organisation, not a business. Again, Peter, was there anything that came up like that last year that we ran into?
Yeah, we would prefer it if it is going to be a full partnership, that it is with other third sector organisations rather than private sector or public sector. To be honest.
I mean, I've nothing in mind. I'm just sort of trying to cover all bases as to what we're looking at doing, but just in case there was maybe some organisation that we want to get involved with something, but they might not necessarily fall into that bracket, would that be an issue? We
can fund for the sort of main grant, we could, and the small grants, we can fund sort of private consultants or bringing somebody in to do a service. But when it gets into the partnership aspect, it needs to be with another third sector organisation that meets one of the criteria that's been set out.
Okay, perfect.
I think Andy was next.
Yes, thank you, John. Just a quick question. We have a working relationship with another charity. They're incorporated as ourselves, but as yet we don't have a written down sort of agreement In terms of what sort of detail are you looking for to have sort of proof that we're working in collaboration?
Are you both constituted?
Yes.
And so you would be looking for a partner? Would it be the larger partnership grants?
Yes, potentially.
Again, Peter, you would be better based to answer this one. So evidence for partnership working?
Yeah, we would just need sort of some, even just a letter of comfort from the other organisation saying they are aware of this bid coming in and they have worked together with you on it, or are planning to work with you for the project going forward.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you. And Katrina?
Hi there, I'm just wondering, eligibility, is it pan Lanarkshire or just specific to South Lanarkshire?
South, and this year they've been very strict with your projects that you're running have to be only for South Lanarkshire.
Okay, thank you.
So people from outside South Lanarkshire could come to South Lanarkshire to do them, but they can only be run in South Lanarkshire.
Okay, thank you.
Again, all of that it will all be in the guidance. And what I will say is, if there are any unconstituted groups, the kind of organisations that would be ideal for creating an agreement with to hold funds would be, say, your churches or your community councils, or established organisations that have their own bank account.
I did put it in the chat, Joanne, but it was just to say also, in terms of, I don't think it applies to MD here, but for the Parents' Council, it can't be a statutory organisation that holds money in that account. So if you have the Parents' Council, the school can't hold the funds for it because that's a statutory organisation. Yeah, Fiona?
Yeah, sorry, another one. I just keep thinking of things
Okay.
coming up there. With regards, I think, Peter, you mentioned something there. One of the things that we're looking for is to take on someone to do some research as to what's required in the area. Would this fund cover that?
I'm not sure. I think we would need to see the application. We would need to see that there is a benefit to the community mental health and wellbeing going forward, and a benefit that could potentially be long lasting. So that there will be within the fund guidance short and medium term outcomes. So we would look for it to fit within these. However, we would need to see that. I wouldn't want to give you a definitive yes or no at the moment and then see the application and it goes other way. It would need to be something we would see.
So what would be the best solution for that? To just to email somebody to send what we've got here, or? Yeah,
I mean, if you want to email myself, my email address is Joanne, so it's joanne.mcmann, MCMANN, at VASLan.org.uk, and give me an idea of what it is you're looking to do, and I can take that to the people. But I think your final answer will probably be that you'll need to put an application in, unless I can give you an absolute no. Yeah, that's the if I can give you a no, I'll let you know straight away.
Because I don't waste our time and your time on that.
That's it. Yep. No, that's absolutely fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else that anybody's thought of? Oh, Gillian?
Sorry, can I ask you something that's not related to this?
Yeah.
Does anybody know Jean Rooney? She was in last year's meetings, and she was doing a bit of heat pad for older folk to cut down on.
Yes, it's from an organisation called Fuel the Warmth.
That's it. I've looked everywhere for that, Peter.
I can pass you on Jean's contact details after the meeting. That's not a problem.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is that everything? Is there anything else? What to do is, if we come off this call and you think, well, I wish I'd asked this, or there was other questions that you wanted to ask, you can email the funding inbox or myself, or if you've got Peter's email, or the office, and one of us will get back to you. Peter, that's fine if you need to go. One of us will be back in touch with you and we'll try and answer any questions that you've got. I'm hoping that all the guidance will be on the website within the next week. I have said the 3rd of October as a guideline, but I'm hoping to get it up before then. Keep an eye on our social media channels and our website, and if there's anything else I can help with, please get in touch.